And welcome back to a very special Who Would Win. This one comes off the heels of the fact that I just did a Who Would Win, but it apparently is Dreamman Killer 18's birthday. Happy birthday, Dreamman Killer 18. So you did request a Who Would Win. Pennywise, the Dancing Clown, versus WarGreymon. For the future, make sure to give me these requests before your actual birthday, because that puts me in a bit of an awkward spot when I found this out. Because I was at work, I'm like, I wasn't prepared to do any more videos today, and I do have other plans. Like, speaking of which, my friend's birthday is a close friend of mine's birthday is tomorrow. We're going out to have a birthday dinner for her later tonight. So that just put me in a bit of a bind, depending on what my circumstances are that day. So just for clarification. If anyone gives me a birthday request, be sure it's a little before your actual birthday so I can prepare that outright. But anyway, regardless, Dreamman Killer 18 asks Pennywise versus WarGreymon. This is actually very interesting. Because these are actually very different individuals in terms of where they come from and their power output. Obviously, Pennywise I've done numerous times, and people keep trying to correct me about, like, Pennywise is this, Pennywise is that. It's like, okay, let us be very clear here. When I go for the information, this is like straight from the Stephen King source book. I'm not just referencing the movie. I'm referencing Stephen King's, world as a whole. So Pennywise is a extra-dimensional, outer-versal, technically, macro-versal, technically. Because there's our universe, and then there's a universe around that. That's the macro-verse. That's where Pennywise is from. Pennywise isn't even this thing's true form. What the creature species Pennywise is known as is a glimmer or glamour. I think it's a glimmer. Either way, it's a shape-shifting creature with no true discernible form. Although it's said that the deadlights it produces are its true form. But at one point, what was it? Eddie gazed into the deadlights and saw something that looked like massive hair and teeth, something kind of like orangey colored. Like, the spider is the closest form it took, was the closest to us perceiving its true form. But we're just not capable of doing that, because to gaze upon it is basically his true form, or to gaze upon the deadlights is to basically be gazing into madness itself, something our brains can't comprehend. We just go, no. Pennywise, though, prefers the form of Pennywise. It still feeds on us. It feeds on meat, it feeds on people. It likes kids because they're easier to scare, and fears essentially salting the meat, as it's described. As such, it is bound to the form that it takes. Pennywise is so much physically more powerful than a normal person and all that, and it still has all of its abilities. It's telepathy. It can actually hone in on what you're specifically afraid of. Illusions. It can warp reality to some degree. Physicality beyond that of a normal person. Shape-shifting. All these are abilities Pennywise has at its disposal. And obviously the deadlights itself, which you can use to either... See, it's debatable how the deadlights really work exactly. This is why it's said that the deadlights might be Pennywise's true form, due to the fact that our minds can't comprehend its true form. And therefore, when we look into the deadlights, we either just die, or you go insane, or apparently you go into this weird comatose state that Beth went in the movie. I have no idea what that was about. Now, in the book, the only way to defeat Pennywise permanently was with the ritual of Chud. Now, obviously, that is true and it isn't true. That's true within the sense of the book and the universe Stephen King set up. But again, I always have to reiterate this point because I think it gets understated. That you can't compare one universe to another in terms of power scaling. Like, example I always love to use is take Wolverine. Wolverine as a character, he's got the healing factor, adamantium claws, all that. He's a powerful character. He's great. He's fun with lobby. He's a fan favorite. One of the most popular Marvel characters. One of the most popular comic book characters. But in his own universe, he can get bitch slapped by at least 50 people off the top of my head. I'm not joking. Okay, 50. I'd have trouble maybe thinking of 50 people overall, but I can think of at least 20 people that would kick his ass in a heartbeat. But you throw him into, say, My Hero Academia, where quirks don't function the same way as mutation, or like the mutation X gene does. I mean, they're very similar, but they do function differently. You take him and throw him in there, there is next to no one who would be able to put him down. Like, seriously, think on that. Really think on that for a second. I can think of maybe a couple who could stop him in theory, who could beat him in a fight. Maybe. But, like, his pillars aren't a quirk, so Aizawa wouldn't win. Eri could possibly erase him if she got, a hold of him. It's hard to say whether or not Shigaraki could actually kill him, because we don't know if Shigaraki could decay or decompose adamantium, because of the nature of adamantium. And then past that, it's like, maybe Overhaul. Overhaul's ability might work, but I'm like, spitting out a prayer. Everyone else, like, just Class A alone would just get, taken out completely. And he could probably take out all of the people I just mentioned just because he's also a trained assassin. So you can't compare Pennywise's universe effectively to anyone else's. But yes, in the book, the ritual chud is what was used to ultimately beat him, along with other things, but yeah. Now, obviously, in the movies, they do go a little differently. That it's not the ritual chud, it's just the fact that they were able to overcome him. They were able to suppress or get rid of their fear and just stand up to him. And that really is, in of itself, Pennywise's true weakness. A, it's bound by the form it takes. B, if you already don't have fear of Pennywise, it's going to be hard for Pennywise to manipulate you. But more importantly, if you stand up to Pennywise, not only don't have fear, but even more importantly, if you had fear but lose the fear and instill fear in Pennywise, you will be able to overcome Pennywise a lot easier, because Pennywise's powers weaken on that. Because really, with Pennywise, it's not a physical battle; it's a mental battle. And it's all about fit your mind state, and how you perceive yourself affects, and how others perceive you affects your abilities. Pennywise saw him as the destroyer of worlds, so he was this giant spider monster in the movie. But then they just kept standing up to him and calling him a clown and all that, and he started to shrink. And even then, when he tried to swing, it didn't work. Like, that's how you should normally be able to beat Pennywise. WarGreymon is the mega form or one of the mega forms of the Agumon line. Now, the Agumon line are Dragon-type Digimon, Dino Dragon-type Digimon. And, they go through different evolutionary stages. Now, Metal Greymon alone is stated to have the power of a nuclear warhead. That seems about right. It's how much stronger WarGreymon is than Metal Greymon is not certain, because in the original series of Digimon, I believe they said 6 Ultimates can't take down 1 Mega, which isn't true. But at that time, because it all depends on the power difference between levels. There's a rookie Digimon that was able to beat him. No, there was an in training form Digimon strong enough to beat a Mega Digimon and Piedmon at one point. So it's all debatable, but generally speaking, the ranks mean something. And it took 6 Ultimates couldn't take down Puppetmon. But so and we know that like Metal Garurumon is on equal footing to WarGreymon. And he's the one who ultimately took down Puppetmon. So we know that WarGreymon's power must exceed about at least 6 equivalent, is like at least 6 times stronger than Metal Greymon's, probably more. In fact, probably a lot more, and probably like a 10 times multiplied minimum, because evolution in Digimon is not it's not gradual, it's exponential, as they put it in Death Battle at one point. It's like actually a really good example. By the way, for anyone who got pissed off at that, it's like, sorry, no, Digimon completely wreck Pokemon Shop. In terms of power level, I like them both. And I generally play Pokemon more than I play Digimon. But if you're asking me about power level, no. There is next to no Pokemon that has the power of a nuclear warhead in Pokemon. The closest you get are like the legendary Pokemon, and even then, only a couple, like the Space Time and Arceus and Gravity and Giratina. That's about as close as you get to that level of power. Maybe Mewtwo, and that's only on Ultimate. Mega levels are well beyond that, and there are Digimon that threaten the existence of the universe, which the digital world is just a digital version of our world, so it's equivalent to our world just by existing, and can erase the universe and reset it. And they're not even the strongest ones. So yeah, no. For anyone who argues Pokemon's stronger, you're fanboy, you're fanboy/girling. And yeah, someone brought that up in a comment that recently. Like, but what was it? Actually, I can find that comment. I'm not going to say who the commenter was, but I can find that comment because I know I had to go into my comment section to be able to find your name, Draymond. Where is that comment? I know I'm sidetracking. I'll get back to it in just a second. But where is that person's name? Let's see here now. Where did that person go? I just want to comment it real quick because I don't like calling people. Okay, Naruto. I'm not saying the name, but Naruto wins, and fanboys are saying Godzilla because it was when my Kurama versus Godzilla video. Naruto wins, and fanboys are saying Godzilla wins because they're using other versions of Godzilla because Naruto would beat the current version. A, Naruto's not fighting; it's Kurama. B, yeah, we use different versions of Godzilla because there are different versions of Godzilla. No two versions of Godzilla are created equally. We could composite them, but that doesn't work because some of them are so drastically different you can't composite them. And C, that's not an argument. You saying Naruto wins and then saying fanboys are saying this is just you fanboying on the other side without giving any evidence to your cause. So just want to get that out there because it really annoys me when people try to argue in that sense. Like, that is the dumbest argument ever. Back to the plot. WarGreymon is very much like a war. It's like a dragon knight, pretty much. WarGreymon was my favorite between the two. Metal Garurumon and Greymon. I always liked the Agumon because I like reptiles more, and dragons more, and dinosaurs more than wolves. The wolves are cool. He uses the Dreymon's destroyers, which are designed specifically to take down dragon-type Digimon, and his signature attack is, Terra Force, which is the giant fuck-off death ball. He uses by egg-gathering energy in the atmosphere and pretty much can incinerate a mountainside without a problem. Those wings on his back are actually a shield, by the way. You can use them as a shield. And he can go toe-to-toe with other Mega Digimon, no problem. The thing here, though, that we really have to address is the fact of what WarGreymon is. Digimon are, in the name, digital monsters. They're digital creatures. But the problem here is, even though they're made up of data, or data, depending on your pronunciation of the word, even though they're made up of data, they still seem to act, are treated as and function like organic beings. They still need to eat, which makes sense, consume data. But even in the real world, they still need to eat. They still bleed. Now, granted, when they are killed, they do disperse into data. So clearly, the similarity between them and actual, natural biological organisms that occur in the real world, it's limited. But that does raise the whole concept of, I bring this up because in this fight, these two, so let's set up the scenario because this is actually very important. Let's say Tai and Digidestin are, traveling, and Tai and Agumon are in Dairy Main, and they catch on to Pennywise, thinking Pennywise might be a Digimon. But Agumon's like, I don't know who this guy is, Tai. Hey, stop that there. You're like, oh, someone's big and strong. Tell me, little boy, do you want to float too? And say, your courage, you're such a brave little boy, aren't you? You even have a little friend. How cute. Admittedly, Pennywise is a bit confused by this yellow dinosaur thing. But it's like, whatever, maybe I can eat this thing too. It's like, tell me, do you want to float too? And he starts to transforming. And he's trying to get into Tai's head. And he is succeeding to some degree. But there's a benefit to having Tai as Agumon's partner, because Agumon and Tai, digivolved to Ultimate in the original. We don't know what the crusts are in this new series. I don't watch the new series that much. I follow bits and pieces here or there. Apparently the crests are actually physical things and they aren't needed to get the Ultimate or even Mega. So the question is, what the hell are they? And what do they do? Armor Digivolve? That'd be cool. But where was I? Tai has the crest of courage. So even though Pennywise is getting in there and he's playing on Tai, the fears that Tai may have, Tai's courage, he's able to overcome it. And Pennywise is like, oh, you don't want to be scared? Shame, you're not gonna taste this good then. He just guy's like, and then Agumon's like, Papa Breath, get out of my way. And all of a sudden, he immediately warped Digivolves, because that's obviously the fight we have going on here. It's like, and just, it's like, what? It's like, you first. You scary big monster man. You're not the only one who's got tricks up his sleeve. And, he turns into the spider. Now, unfortunately, when we actually look at sheer power, WarGreymon's got him beat on sheer power. Now, people are going to argue and say, but he's an outer versus macro versus being. Maturin's his rival, and he can Cough up universes. Yeah, but that doesn't translate into combat strength. I mean, the strongest we've seen him in is that spider form in the movie. Even in, like, say, the book, he's not a fighter. Let's see, Pennywise isn't a fighter. I think when people do these versus matches, they really forget that. He is a manipulator, a seducer, or well, not a seducer, but he's a manipulator. He is a corrupter. And, he can physically overpower, and he will, like, fight if he has to, but he's not a fighter. WarGreymon's a warrior. And because of that, WarGreymon's immediately just smacking this guy around. Now, Pennywise is trying to get into WarGreymon's head to, single out his spear. But surprisingly, apart from, like, Ty dying, like, failing his friends, there isn't much for him to glean off of Greymon's psyche for that. Add on to the fact that he's a digital being does make it a little odd for Pennywise to, try to get into WarGreymon's head. As WarGreymon's hitting straight into him, Ty is, egging or cheering him on, and that lack of fear and that encouragement is weakening Pennywise. Other kids that, maybe it was the Loser Club he was chasing. The Loser Club is in there, and they're cheering on, they're backing him up. So now it's like, okay, Pennywise is like, you stupid lizard, I'm the destroyer of worlds. You will fall. And, he goes into the Deadlights. Now, this is the big question that needed to be brought up due to the nature of WarGreymon. Do the Deadlights work on WarGreymon? And I don't think they do. Remember, basically, Pennywise is kind of a different form of, like, an eldritch horror. From, like, H.P. Lovecraft, where the Elder Gods, our brains can't process the Elder Gods, so we'll either go insane or die or whatever. That's basically what the Deadlights are. For all intent and purposes, Pennywise in the Stephen King universe do exist in our real world. It's just you throw in all the supernatural elements that we don't normally deal with. But it's basically the fact that Pennywise is dealing with normal people who don't regularly deal with anything like this. But the problem is WarGreymon, factor this in for a second. Let's actually go with I'm actually going to just get a quick list of some of the strongest Digimon real quick. Let's see. Top 5 strongest Digimon. 5 strongest. Don't need strongest anime character. They are anime character, but strongest Digimon. Digital monsters. Okay. Top 5 strongest Digimon. So, breaking down the cuddly beasts might be fun, but here are the 16 most powerful Digimon. Okay, so I'm just gonna here's a list of 6, but here's or 16, but let me get the 5 strongest Digimon here to kind of give you an idea of what the digital world is really like. So there is Gaiamon, who is actually let's go 5 and below. So there is Shoutmon X7 Superior Mode. Might be the strongest good Digimon the digital world has ever seen. However, within a franchise, slowly growing in vast way. Basically, he's so strong, he basically absorbed so many Digimon into him that he couldn't absorb the rest of their data into him to get stronger, and they all rotated around him like gravity. Imperiumon Paladin Mode. Imperiumon has a fabled history in the ancient Digimon world, the most records of history from a lot of time being lost. Mysterious lore accompanies the strongest ancient dragon Digimon. He is known that Imperiumon is responsible for the Holy Knights, which Alphamon is capable of resetting time. Omnimon is capable of basically doing something similar, so they're kind of Alpha and Omega, basically. Omnimon X is even stronger, allegedly. Zeed and Millenniummon is the big, bad Digi-Boogeyman hiding at the end of Digimon Fusion. Basically passes freely between all worlds across space and time, intending to rule them all. Forget about the world domination. Total domination is on an insurmountable scale. His design has him bound to in a series of digital bands, which supposedly dilute his power. Legend says that if the binds are released, that it will result in unfathomable destruction upon the digital world. After the fusion of Millenniummon, Dark Knightmon, blah blah blah, it's created immediately begins absorbing and assimilating data. All attacks are completely useless against this guy. And then there's Gaiamon, who was mentioned a few passing times, unless he is the result of the entire digital world fusing into one true Digimon. The Digimon is spoken about almost like a cautionary tale. It's like, and these are the 5, and I'm only going with 5 strongest. Like, the Holy Knights are, like, among some of the strongest. There's Apocalypsemon, who's basically Apocalypse in the form of a Digimon. Quartzmon, who is capable of, taking on the Holy Knights indefinitely. Galacticmon was like a galaxy. Even Fanglongmon or Yustromon, who's basically the dragon of the world tree. Like there are Digimon who are so insanely powerful that they could be considered equivalent to what Pennywise is. And yet, the weakest versions of Digimon can still comprehend these things. They don't just go insane. They still have knowledge about these things on every level. So, and Pennywise is not capable of just consuming the universe like that. Pennywise can't do that. Whereas there are Digimon that can do that if left unchecked. So I say all this because WarGreymon is already there's actually levels beyond Mega, like Super Mega or Ultimate, all that. But for all intents and purposes, he's one of the top tier levels of Pokemon. He's not anywhere near the strongest Mega, but he's a top tier Pokemon in terms of his ranking. And yet, even as maybe like Koromon is one of his weakest forms, he'd still be able to process the information of these Pokemon, other Digimon existing that could wipe out existence. So Pennywise honestly would be nothing to him in terms of comprehending what Pennywise is. And then he just goes in and grabs the Deadlight and probably just skewers it. It's like, and Pennywise just, no, what are you? WarGreymon, throws Pennywise up there. Pennywise tries to get out of there, but it's like Terror Force and incinerates him in the Deadlights. Now, whether or not it's a permanent death, who knows? But it still would be enough to put Pennywise out of commission for a good long while, if nothing else. Really what it comes down to is the level of power on average these two display are just too drastically different. Is it theoretically possible that Pennywise could get to a level of power that could match something like WarGreymon? Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, yes. But is it likely? No, it's not likely. Add on to the fact that they have, again, dealt with individuals far more powerful than Pennywise, quite frankly, that posed far more of an imminent threat than Pennywise does. And Tai also has the Crest of Courage, so WarGreymon and him are, connected through that bond, and therefore probably would not be affected by, they might be temporarily affected by the fear inducement, but ultimately they'd overcome it, and Pennywise not being able to induce fear, having other people, rally behind them, would just weaken them even further. So ultimately, this fight goes to WarGreymon. Now, I'm not saying that only because I am a fan of WarGreymon, but also because I just look at the worlds they come from. And it's like, no, in fact, most of the Stephen King universe, quite frankly, will probably get its shit kicked in by the Digimon universe. Most of it. Like, the Crimson King, I believe that's the one from Dark Tower. I don't know his full power roster. I think I did a versus with him one time. But even then, I don't know his full power roster. But even if I did, there are still Digimon that have powers that are very similar to his. So, I don't know. Take that for what it is. Anyway, thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know we'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you folks later.